You need worry no longer. The Albanese Labor government has got everything under control and they're going to look after you. Have a look.
We've all been feeling cost of living pressures. That's why the Australian government is bringing in tax cuts from the 1st of July for every taxpayer. For the people out there and the ones in here. The ones up there and the people down there. Because these aren't tax cuts for some, they're tax cuts for every taxpayer. Visit taxcuts.gov.au to find out how they will benefit you.
Stephen, these charlatans are spending our hard-earned tax dollars to run advertising campaigns informing us that we're going to be allowed to keep more of our own hard-earned dollars through tax cuts that they opposed initially and were legislated under the Liberals and they've tinkered with since. Give me a break.
Well, Chris, I hope the 3 people that weren't aware of these tax cuts coming in on the 1st of July are now fully aware of it, and I hope the millions of dollars that the government has spent to tell those 3 people that they're getting a tax cut on the 1st of July was worth it. I mean, fair income. You know, these are the most talked about tax cuts in the history of this country. Everybody knows they're coming in. We don't need the government spending our money to tell us that. Look at how wonderful is it that we're giving you more of your own money?
Yeah, well, Susie, maybe we do need the ads because maybe the tax cuts are so small, no one will notice them.
But, you know, there's a fine line, isn't there, between government advising and government advertising, but this one does actually neither because it doesn't even tell you anything about how much you're going to get in your, back in your bank thanks to the tax cuts. It doesn't inform you about anything at all. It's just blatant advertising of the government. And this is a government who came in saying that they were going to cut government spending in this exact area. They were saying $50 million less they were going to spend on government advertising. And then we've got the wide pan shots, we've got the beautiful, background music. This would have cost a motser.
It would have cost a motser. I'll tell you what the tax cuts give you. If you happen to have 3 kids, it'll get you a happy meal a week for your 3 kids. So, you'll be living in the land of milk and honey. I've got a better idea for a Labor tax and cost of living ad. That is just their own words. Have a look.
We will put in place mechanisms that provide cost of living relief. I'll build people's living standards up. A better future with real plans to address the cost of living, taking pressure off the cost of living. Of addressing cost of living issues to take pressure off living standards. There is a cost of living crisis. Meaningful help with your cost of living.
Yeah, and if we go to this graphic that Paul Murray has highlighted, that's still up on the ALP website apparently, there it is. The cost of everything's going up. A Labor government will lower the cost of living. Susie, how's that going for them?
Well, it's not going so well not for them or for any of the rest of us who are still struggling to pay mortgages, rising electricity costs, housing. In Victoria, we've got a Labor state government as well, and we've just got a whole lot of new land taxes. So I don't think anyone's coming out of any of this very well at all.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Stephen, when you got those pressures, we all know about the cost of living pressures. Everybody's living through it. And when people see government advertising about tax cuts, and look, once upon a time in a state government, I used to do some of this government advertising stuff. I reckon it'll backfire. I reckon it'll antagonise voters to see this stuff shoved down their throats at their expense.
I think you're right, and I think the problem here is they run the risk of us realising that they're treating us like idiots and that all they're doing is creating a whole bunch of distractions to sleight of hand so that we don't see the fact that they've got no answers to the cost of living crisis. And I say this on my program almost on a daily basis, that the inflation crisis is largely driven by government spending. If they want to bring the cost of living down, stop spending money. And this is an example of exactly the opposite of that. Yeah. But then, of course, if we demonise the supermarkets and worry about pulling videos off Facebook and, create the whole distraction around The Voice, maybe we don't actually have to do anything and people won't notice.